I guess I'll just start and I'll say, how do you two feel about this document? I guess I'm a little confused. So if one of y'all could explain it to me in your terms, that'd be great.
Well, I'll start off a little bit. Chris made a great comment about a week ago when you could start anticipating, maybe a little bit longer than that, Chris, that we were going to have some issues potentially related to coronavirus. And you said, we can just hope that everybody's not a jerk and they agree to extensions of deadlines and they work together. Well, we all know how that works. I mean, you can hope that, or you could get it into a form and have people sign the form. So I think this basically put in writing what most of us were thinking.
So this is basically the formal version of, hey, coronavirus, and let's change our closing date.
Yep.
Okay. Is that your take too, Mr. Chris Mann?
It is. I think it's setting good expectations for people. If you are either under contract right now with a settlement date more than a week away, or you're going under contract like right now, I think it is important that people have this discussion with their clients, and this form makes them do that.
And I know it's an addendum, but if I'm already under contract, or if I have an agent that's already under contract, the buyer and seller they can add this to their already existing contract. They just need to write it in on that page and then add this, and of course, give it to you and the banker, I'm supposing.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kandyce, but I would point out a couple of places I've heard it stated that there is no requirement that this be used. So if you come back to parties after the contract and ask them to sign this and they say, no, we don't see it's in our best interest, there is nothing you can do to compel them to use.
So why would this be in somebody's best interest, both of you? I mean, I have my thoughts, but I just trust y'all's brains. So how about Chris Mann? Go first.
Okay. So I think that this definitely, there is a benefit to the buyer in almost every situation.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's right.
Okay.
So I think for most buyers, this is, for most sellers, this is going to be beneficial to them. There's very little reason, I think, for a seller to not want to do this, because if there is a shelter in place or there's a shutdown, we can't record things. It's not like the seller can go sell it to somebody else. I also don't expect the value of properties to be increasing dramatically over the course of the next 2 months, that they would think that saying no and terminating is in their best interest. I think this is generally going to be in the best interest of a seller.
So if we didn't have this and we missed the date and we missed the 14 extension and the seller can't close, in theory, the buyer could say, well, you couldn't close. So.
Well, that's just everybody fighting. There's no good answer to that. There's no good answer to that situation. If there is a delay based on COVID and nobody closes, there is no good answer to who's at fault, who's entitled to what.
Isn't the answer call you?
I'm going to tell them I don't know. I mean, I've been telling people I don't know the answer.
Okay.
We've never had this situation, and we've never anticipated this situation. So the contract just doesn't.
You attorneys just not thinking ahead.
I know.
The only catch I would say to that is you may have a seller that says, you know what, I'm holding 2 months worth of mortgage in my hand in earnest money. And so therefore I'm not going to sign this. I think they have to see beyond the short game on this, that this is, as Chris said, it's working together. It's to some extent not being jerks. In some cases you may have to work against your what you would perceive as your best interest at the time. But holding a small amount of money, it could be for naught if you can't turn around and sell it to somebody else. Work with the person that brought you to the table.
Okay, so
and for a buyer, I think there are going to be scenarios where a buyer isn't going to want to do this, and they're going to just want to let it terminate. Like that's going to happen. It's already happening, where a buyer either just has cold feet because of the economic uncertainty, or they've lost their job and they just don't feel comfortable, and they're just going to say, I'm not signing it, I'm not doing it, we'll let it terminate. Or they'll just terminate before they even get to this point. You can still terminate for any or no reason at all. So I think that's always just going to be the buyer's discretion. So if they don't want to sign this and they have that reason, that's within the right.
All right. So I think you all can see my contract on my screen, right? I just want to make sure I'm reading this right.
Right.
So if the buyer, I think if we say if the buyer is unable to obtain a loan to purchase the property due to Corona, then either party can terminate and sellers shall remain the due diligence fee and the earnest money shall be refunded to buyer. So if I'm the buyer and I lose my job or whatever happens, I can't get a loan, even if it's after due diligence, I'm still going to get my earnest money back. That's right?
That is correct. The only thing I would say about that is it's specific to COVID-19 related issues, but at this point, I think it would be a pretty safe argument to say if you lost your job, it was ostensibly tied to COVID-19.
Okay. And then if I jump down, I know there's the use of alternative methods, but it says extension of deadlines here. And if I'm understanding this correctly, Chris, if I use this as the buyer and I haven't hit my due diligence date. So let's say I use this addendum and I say, hey, let's push out closing 30 days. If I use this addendum, then I'm pushing out my due diligence date 30 days as well.
That's right. If due diligence has not passed, if due diligence has passed, you're not setting a new due diligence date.
And I think it says that in here, yes, under section. Well, I'm sure it's in here somewhere.
Middle of 3.
The middle of 3, unduly burdensome, impossible to do for the contract, the buyer and seller agree. It's in the middle of 3.
And in such event, all deadlines in the contract that have not expired shall be extended.
Maybe I'm just missing it. Which line number in number 3?
Right before the blank. Look right before the blank.
Oh, I was just making sure y'all could read.
Yeah.
You know, it's good enough that I'm pretty. It's fine. So as long as, hey, Chris, sir, man, I mean, okay, like both of y'all are named Chris. So basically, if I'm the buyer and it hasn't, and my due diligence has not come about already, then it just moves my due diligence date back. If my due diligence has passed, it's only moving the settlement date back.
That's right.
Okay. All right. And then.
And I want to just real quick say that to the extent somebody signs this as a part of their contract or before there's a shutdown, it's not moving anything until there's a delay because of COVID.
Yes.
Right. So this you can sign this and it changes nothing until there's an actual shutdown based on COVID or a delay based on COVID.
That is such a good point. Do you know where that is in writing in here?
It's the very top when it's just defining why they're signing. It's basically saying due to a delay because of COVID.
Okay, I trust you. All right, and then so if I'm thinking about this correctly, then if we push back settlement with this form and we close, we close. If we push back settlement because of either party, because of anything coronavirus related, then buyer is going to lose their due diligence, seller is to keep it, but seller, the buyer gets back their earnest money. Did I just say that right?
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
And then if, let's say, we can start recording and everything's fine, and I, the buyer, back out because I lose my job, not because of coronavirus, but because I got caught doing something. I don't know. Well, then I would be in breach in general, and I would lose my earnest money and my due diligence money. Right?
Yep.
All right. So I think I understand.
Remember that black and white.
All right. So any other thoughts the two of you all think I should understand before?
Now, I think you alluded to this, but let's say we do have a 30-day extension. At the end of that 30 days, the contract is over at that point, unless the parties do agree in writing to extend it for the same reason or for some other reason at that point. And that does trigger, in fact, that the seller keeps the due diligence, buyer gets the earnest money back. So it's a trigger based on the COVID-related restriction. So from that standpoint, they have an agreement up front or at some later point in the contract, that both parties are going to abide by those rules.
Yeah. So if we push it out 30 days and we get to 30 days and we haven't closed, we probably need to do this piece of paper again, just to push it out again.
Conceivably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you could, in theory, agree to this a number of times. But I think it's important for agents to understand that normal contract rules still apply. If you have a contract without this agreement in place, and you get to the closing date, then you get 15 days, 16 days past the closing date, and then you try to do this, you're amending a dead contract. Don't wait that long because the old contract's already dead.
Got you.
On that note, you
Okay.
brought up an important point earlier about the fact that this is, let's say we agree to 30 days. It's exactly 30 days past the settlement date. It's not 30 plus 14.
That's
Did I
right.
hear you correctly in that?
That's right. Yeah, this is not changing the closing date. This is giving a deadline. So if folks think that it's 30 days or whatever amount of days they put in, we keep saying 30, but you can put any amount of days in this form. If you say 30 days and then you think you have 30 plus 14, you're going to be very disappointed.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Thanks, guys. I just want to make sure I understood it, and I know that lots of agents have been asking me questions. So, and I think I recorded this, so I'll send you all a copy just if you all want to review what we said.
Can I ask Chris one more question while we have him on the phone?
Sure.
You know, I'm not going to ask you to grade this form.
Wait. Is this where I'm going to be recording this? Do you want this recorded or no?
Yes. No,
Okay.
Let's keep recording on this. So rather than ask you to grade this form, have you created your own form, Chris, or are you just kind of defaulting to that this is a form, it's by our leaders and use it unless there's some compelling reason not?
Yeah, we had our own version of this that we've just shelved because it's got the realtor seal of approval, the commission seal of approval on it, and it doesn't substantially do anything different than we did. There are some scenarios where sellers are agreeing to return of due diligence, so this form doesn't work for that. But we're just encouraging people to use this because I think it does everything it needs to do, and folks won't feel like if the buyer's attorney drafted it, then it's skewed.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
I got nothing else that I can think of.
Well, that's strange because my doorbell hasn't rung with my chocolate covered strawberries, and I was just wondering.
While we were doing this, I got my bowl, I got my ice cream, and my.
You have ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
If the buyer, stop that. Now, stop. I like your beard though.
Thank you. I can't get a haircut. Like, I'm going to end up looking like Yanni before long.
Okay, Chris, what did you talk?
Get yourself a hat and then just curl it down here a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to start doing this little twist.
That would be
Oh my
awesome.
God. Oh my God.